Population dynamics is an area of ecology that deals with how and why populations change in size and structure over time. It is mainly concerned with factors influencing expansion, decline, and maintenance of population, including the effects of four demographic processes such as birth, death, immigration, and emigration. The study of population dynamics is helpful in managing harmful pests such as pathogen-borne human parasites. It is also essential for the conservation and preservation of a variety of plants and animals, especially those in danger of going extinct. In studying population dynamics, it is important to understand how population size is affected by demographic factors, namely birth, death, immigration, and emigration. To further understand the relationship between the two, let us first define the four demographic factors. First, birth is defined as the process of bearing or bringing forth offspring. Second, death is defined as the total cessation of life processes. Third, immigration is when organisms join a population. Lastly, emigration is when members of a population leave. The four demographic factors affect the population size in two different manners. Birth and immigration have common effects on population size, while the same goes for death and emigration. If a member of the population gives birth to an offspring, and if an outsider organism immigrated into the said population, the number of organisms inside the population will increase. Therefore, the population size will expand. On the other hand, if a member of the population died or emigrated to another population, the number of organisms inside the population will decrease. Therefore, the population size will shrink. The effects of the four demographic factors can be illustrated using life tables, survivorship curves, and age structures. Life tables record matters of life and death for a population. It summarizes the possibility of whether a member of a population will live, die, and/or reproduce at different life stages. Survivorship curve is defined as a graphic representation of the proportion of members of a population that are surviving or alive at different ages. Lastly, age structure is simply the distribution of the members of a population in terms of age. Ecologists created a formula to determine the population at any given time and the population growth rate formula as presented on the screen. Population growth is the increase of individuals in a population depending on their biotic potential. This is the property of a species to reproduce. It is influenced by the sex ratio and age distribution. Moving on to the two population growth models, the exponential and the logistic. The first one is the exponential growth model presented as a J-shaped growth pattern. It is the continuous increase in population without environmental resistance factors, meaning there are no environmental limits to the population growth. The second model is the logistic growth model exhibited as an S-shaped growth pattern. An important factor in this model is the carrying capacity, which are environmental limits that slows down and stops the population growth rate. This states that once resources are depleted, the population approaches its maximum size and becomes stationary. The five environmental resistance factors that regulate the carrying capacity are the availability of raw materials, energy and space, accumulation of waste products and waste disposal, and interactions among organisms. Now, let's take a look at the stages of population growth. First, there is the lag phase, where the population size is small and resources are ample. Then there is a rapid growth and fast depletion of resources called the log phase. That ends the exponential growth. Meanwhile, the logistic growth carries on. Once the carrying capacity is reached, there would be no population growth, thus called the stationary phase. Finally, when the population has exceeded the carrying capacity, there would be a decline or a death phase. Population regulation talks about the factors that limit population size and growth. These limiting factors are mainly density-dependent and density-independent based on populations. Together, they produce various patterns of population growth. Density-dependent are biotic limiting factors involving competition, predation, parasitism, and disease. Competition limits the supply of food, in which a dense population can lead to negative feedback due to increased consumption of supply, consequently limits population growth. Similarly, predation may directly decrease the population or increase it when predators are in small numbers. Disease and parasites are likely to result in more deaths of organisms, hence reducing the population. Generally, waste accumulation due to dense population can lead to the accumulation of harmful waste products that kill individuals or impair reproduction, reducing the population's growth. On one hand, density independent affects per capita growth rate, independent of how dense the population is. These are abiotic factors such as natural disasters which may shift population sizes. Events like severe weather and fire generally decrease the organism's population because of migration or deaths. Ecological footprints measure the area of land and water required to provide for a given population. It includes all resources needed and waste disposal requirements and is generally measured in area units per person. Global Footprint Network measures how much nature we have and how much nature we use. The situation is unsustainable if a population's ecological footprint exceeds its environmental biocapacity. Biocapacity is the capacity of ecosystems to produce useful biological materials and absorb waste produced by people. Disturbingly, the global ecological footprint of humans is 2.84 global hectares per person, but the global biocapacity is just 1.73 global hectares per person. Global hectare is a biologically productive hectare with world average biological productivity for a given year. We are, in effect, already living on the capital of the planet rather than its income. This overshoot means that humanity is already using 1.64 times as many resources as are sustainably available, which is only possible for a short time. This exemplifies that humanity cannot continue consuming more than the earth can produce. Moreover, this supply and demand issue only worsens as population growth accelerates. Because every additional human being increases the need for food, progressively raising the world's food output and atmospheric concentration of greenhouse gases. Because of this overshoot situation, which the entire planet is presently in, it can only be sustained by using its non-renewable capital. When the world's resources run out, a global disaster is inevitable. That ends our presentation. We hope you learned something from this video. Stay safe and stay positive.